Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Strack.
Here.
Weedman.
Here.
Mack.
Here.
LaCroy.
Here.
Northern.
Here.
That's a quorum. Let's recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if I could have a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any questions?
Strack.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Northern.
Aye.
LaCroy.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we have any public comments? I'm going to guess no. Board reports, if anyone has anything they'd like to chat about.
I only have one question. My understanding is the state legislature changed the requirements on the sexual harassment policy. Did we get anything from ISB on that?
No.
Okay.
When it required to be updated by January
Right.
13th to 15th?
And the ISB had written and said that this was going to occur and that they would send us something, and it was not in the last packet. So, still waiting.
I know, 'cause we had to do it too, and we updated it at January's.
It had to be done by the 15th,
Yeah.
I think, but we'll just make sure we try and get something for the next committee.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and we have a committee meeting Monday, yeah.
We'll try to get something for Monday.
I'll just mention that we did have our board, what was the? Governance meeting, where we had some pretty good discussions about how and why we do the things that we do and why we do them the way we do them. We will have some things that I think we'll probably talk about when we get to future agenda items tonight in particular, that we'll be talking about over the coming weeks and months for changes we can make to improve our performance as a board. I think it was time well spent, and just wanted to say again, thank you to everybody for participating. Anyone else? Moving along.
Well, we received the results of our science assessment from 2016.
Seems like forever ago now.
Yeah. So
Right on time, huh?
it was on time. And I guess there's going to be a press release that's going to go out tomorrow, and with a lot of excuses as to why the assessment took so long to be released. So far, we've looked at it, and there's not a whole lot of information, and obviously, it's not going to be able to drive our instruction 2 years later. Did not mention when the 2017 results would be released, and here about another month and a half, 2 months, we'll be doing the 2018. So we're right on top of things there with our science
Well, that's for sure.
Timely data.
FOIA requests were required to release these quarterly, so I will go through these. On February 10th, 2017, I guess it's half a year, Amy Anderson requested a video from Park School between the times of 11:15 and 11:30. She said she needed that by the front of the school near the office where Angelo Patalio was picking up her son, Angelo Patalio. Amy Anderson, again, on February 15th, requested another video. The other two camera shots showed the parking lot entrance and Angelo's truck at the same time in between 11:15 and 11:30, and the camera shot on November 1st, 2016, between the same time, 11:15 and 11:13, where she picks up little Angelo in the kindergarten pickup line. She needed it showing the street. And just for your knowledge, the cameras don't go the direction that she was hoping it was. Bob Hollenbeck, February 13th, 2017, a list of any and all vendors that contract with the school district to operate school bus transportation services for academic years 2016 and 17. This document should include vendor name with the number of routes operated and contract term. All current contracts with the school district has with Durham Services or other transportation companies to perform transportation services. the most recent RFP documents issued for the school bus transportation in the school district, actual dollar amounts paid to any school transportation company during the school years of summers of 2015-16 and 2016-17, a complete list and description of any and all budgetary account codes used when distributing funds to any of the above companies for any transportation services. Copies of lists of all certified employees from any of the above companies used for student transportation within the district. Copies of any and all contract infractions or violations involving any of the above companies. Copies of all and any and all safety issues, infractions, or violations involving the above companies, and copies of any and all accident reports involving any of the above companies. Smart Procure on March 28th, 2017. We acquired purchase order number, purchase date, line item details, line item quantity, line item price, vendor ID number, name, address, contract person, and their email address, and the beginning of our fiscal year. KPT Technology, April 14th, wanted to request a FOIA for the E-rate Wi-Fi RFP, and mentioned that a vendor was selected. He wanted an email copy of the bids and the rebids that were submitted from all vendors and the matrix used as well. Smart Procure, July 3rd, purchase order number and purchase date, very similar to the previous request. Nathan Mahilick, Illinois Retired Teachers Association, August 24th, 2017. Please provide the email addresses of all teachers and administrators in your district. Emmanuel Hernandez, an Excel spreadsheet containing the following information for every teacher and staff member currently employed. Please organize this information in the following manner: campus, first name, middle name, last name, position, grade level, subject, area taught, certified in area of instruction, home address, school email. We don't give home addresses. Personal email, we don't give that. Gender, race, hire, years of experience, and current salary.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know from my experience of dealing with FOIAs, if it's not a record, you don't have
Right.
to create it.
Correct.
So, all right.
Mm-hmm. October 5th, Kirk Allen from the American Watchdogs Incorporated, a copy of all debt currently held by the school district in any form to include but not limited to lines of credit, financial institution bonds, and credit cards. A copy of all payment structures for that debt that reflects principal payment, interest payment, and time frame of those obligations. A copy of all compensation provided to the superintendent. A copy of the superintendent's employment contract. A copy of the minutes and agenda where the superintendent's contract was approved. Smart Procure, again, the same type of thing: purchase date, line item details, line item quantity, line item price, and vendor ID. And Michael Timothy, the National Association of the Environmental Engineering Students, Illinois chapter. A list of the facility directors and maintenance directors for CCSD46. He wanted a list of whoever is in charge of maintaining the facilities and grounds for all buildings. I guess that's you, Keith. Merit Research Services, November 1st, the 2017 audited financial statements and supplemental information, which is always on our website, correct?
Which years were those?
Pardon me?
Did you say 2007, 2008?
No, 2017.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that's
I
all
was
right.
going to say, yeah.
December 1st, 2017, Cheryl Tedness wanted a FOIA request for the legal fees associated with the negotiations for the new contracts. If possible, wanted them separated by PSRP and certified unions, and how much was spent for each union from negotiations which began in the fall of 2016 currently. And the total cost for all of these was estimated at $331. One more question is, we're looking at the calendar. When we started, we would only have had one board meeting in November. We're looking for board meetings next year. One board meeting in November, one in December, and one in January. We could do 2 in December, what we typically only do 1. What are your thoughts about adding another one? It would be the 3rd week in December, right before break. And we have no problem doing it, but I just wanted to.
Could we add a meeting
If needed.
later if we need to have one? Just handle it that way?
And so keep it as it, and then if we need it, we can add it then?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I think that's all I have.
Alrighty.
Welcome, Tom.
Howdy. Strange. Unusual.
You didn't take Washington Street, did you? Okay, if I could have motion to approve the consent agenda, including the addendums to the personnel report?
I have a curriculum committee report.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
sorry.
actually, well, there's a lot of very good things going on. The meeting was this morning. The main thing they're doing, the different thing right now is unpacking the PE and the health outline. I learned a number of things. For one thing, all human body instruction has now been removed from science, essentially, and moved to PE, the health area. And the human brain is emphasized, what it reacts to, what nutrients it likes, and what nurtures it, et cetera. Sports is de-emphasized generally in PE, and fitness increases in importance. Eating right, things of that nature. As far as tests, upcoming tests, the Illinois fitness tests start in, I believe, in February, grades 3 through 8. They have the option of individual, dual, or 3 to 8 people in a group, 4 different tests. Apparently they bought the tools last year. Once in a while, they run across a situation where the technology that's supposed to be used for an exam of some sort may be changed when, by the time the exam finally gets here, and that's an unfunded mandate. So I learned a number of things about the real world of running schools in Illinois these days. In March, the kids grade 5 and grade 8 will be tested. We received some test results from 2 years ago.
That would be science.
Science, okay. Well, I was going to get into that. So if you have sophomore kids at the high school and they want to know how they did in 8th grade, they can probably tell. Teachers are starting to realize that the MAP tests that they give the old reliables are probably the old reliables, in that there is actionable data that they can get from it and that they apparently can depend upon it. So that's worth something. For upcoming things with parents would be involved, one of the big ones would be the art thing at the library, which was very popular last year and expected to be expanded this year. There are a lot of things going on. I could go on for a long time. I'm sure you don't want me to. But a lot of good things are happening, and such as writing teachers going from building to building and helping out in different departments. And I'm quite pleased with what I've seen.
Thank you. Any questions? When is that, the art fair
March
is?
2nd.
March, okay, yeah.
Friday
March 2nd.
night.
Excellent.
I think it starts at 6, but I'm,
That was a lot of fun last year, so.
that's great.
Okay, if I get a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, including the personnel addendums,
I'll move.
Second.
are there any questions? Okay,
Northern,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack,
aye,
Meskel,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
motion carries. There's only one action item this evening. It's about the Summer Academy Coordinators. If I could have a motion to approve the recommendation of the 2018 Summer Academy Coordinators.
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions? Okay,
Weedman,
Aye.
Meskel,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Northern,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack.
aye. Motion carries. Unfinished business, the solar project update.
So in front of you, you've got a tentative timeline. And Chris, you want to?
Sure. The timeline is the same one that they issued to us at the very beginning. There's 2 little marks, 2 little arrows off to the right-hand side of the bars that say bid, finalize pricing, and procure materials. Those have been flip-flopped. They've actually procured the solar panels, but obviously we have not gone out to bid yet or finalized the price because we haven't received any bids. The rest of it, they say, is on track. They say that they don't see any issues with the timeline as is, as given to us at the beginning of the project. We have some news on the SREX. Have you gone into that at all?
No, I haven't.
Some positive news. The SREC market, they're estimating that it's going to be higher than anticipated. So the revenues that are coming in are going to be higher than they initially thought, which is great for us. I won't say anything until we actually find out exactly what they are, but that is the anticipation. They've also moved the goalpost in another way because instead of, it's a 15-year SREC contract and they were originally going to pay it in the first 5 years. What they are thinking about doing now is paying it all after year 1. If you pay it all after year 1, it would be at a discounted price. They wouldn't do it at the full price. But that would give us money up front, money that we could actually use to go ahead and pay back some of the debt certificates early, so we could potentially shorten up the time frame for interest and principal payments.
Will
Which
that
would be
help us in terms of the penalty to receive it early and the taxes, the interest that we have to pay for our part of it?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you can shorten that up, there would be something that we draw into the debt certificate agreements that say that allows us to pay it back early. There might be a small fee to do that, but, a small fee versus a 3% interest rate, 10 years down the road, the benefits greatly outweigh financially what the difference would be. We sent in the land contract, so everything went smoothly there. Looks like we'll be just finalizing up a little bit of work with the county, with the PIN numbers, making sure that we separate out the plats and get a legal definition of the land. On top of that, we're still working a little bit with net metering. We overcame one hurdle with Constellation. That was the first piece of figuring out net metering. We're talking to ComEd. There's a few things that we have to fill out that makes it possible so that one of the facilities, or actually two facilities in this case, can overproduce, and then we can use it as an aggregate for the district. So it wouldn't be, if you happen to overproduce, generally you would basically just lose that extra energy. Because we have so many buildings, we can go ahead and put all of the buildings together and use it against buildings that aren't producing solar power. I'm trying to think. Spoke with State Bank of the Lakes. Start to finish to go through the process of actually issuing debt certificates. The person I spoke with said it would take about 45 days. So we have time to do that, and because they keep moving the goalpost, that just keeps meaning that we're not necessarily sure what we're going to get. So we're waiting for Performance Services to give us a more locked-in idea of exactly what the SREC is going to be and exactly when it's going to get paid off, because that'll have an impact on how we structure everything. But we do want to move forward with that. It's just, if we move and we go in one direction and then all of a sudden something comes out, information comes out, and we have to totally change it up, then we have to go back to the drawing board. So we're trying to get the most accurate information we can possibly get, because we want to be fairly precise when we go ahead and issue debt certificates.
We just have one more structural inspection here,
Yes.
and that's tomorrow.
They're coming out. There's going to be an access point that's going to be needed for the music room. They'll come out, they'll take a look at it. It shouldn't be a very big deal at all. And we're up and running. So.
Pretty exciting.
I have a question, Chris.
Yes.
So over the holidays, I was talking to my brother-in-law about solar panel projects in general, and he is a tax attorney who works with business clients, and he works in the field of structuring solar and wind projects. And his part in that whole thing is figuring out how to best take advantage of this investment tax credit. He said, it's interesting in the school context, because you don't pay taxes, you obviously you're not the owner of this investment tax credit. He's like, I'd be interested to know who gets the benefit of an investment tax credit in your scenario. And if nobody, that would be interesting to know too. Do you know anything about investment tax credit and who in our scenario might stand to benefit from that?
So when you say investment tax credit, you mean?
Like a government incentive to use renewable energy.
I'm trying to, this isn't the exact, there was a program that the government had in place that has now gone away with the new change at the federal level, but in terms of a tax incentive that the federal government gives?
I think it's federal, yeah.
It could be what actually just went away. I would have to look into it, because they used to give, what they used to give was called an NCREB. And actually it was a subsidy that went to the district in terms of paying off the interest. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're talking about. Or
You know, I'll find out some more information from him, and maybe I'll talk to you offline about it, because to the extent that someone in this scenario might benefit from it, it might help us in any discussions we're having with a lender or with performance. I'm just curious about if that comes into play in our scenario at all.
Well, if it's somebody who's going to benefit from us, it'd be interesting to talk with whoever's going to benefit from us as well, to see what could be done there, because
Right.
everything that I've heard and everything that we've read so far, I mean, obviously the beneficiary, a big beneficiary is the district in terms of what they're allowed to sell back.
It might not even come into play in this scenario where a school district is the owner of the panels. So I just thought I'd ask if you knew anything about the idea of an investment tax credit as it relates to renewable energy.
We'll talk.
I had a comment also. I would be interested to see, I know this is a specialized project, but if they can work with some local contractors along with Section 3 or minority and women business enterprises and disadvantaged businesses. And if they can, it'd be great, and to get a report on it. Like if they have, you know, for example, we're doing an energy project, right? And so the whole goal of the energy project with governmental organizations, school districts, and places like that is also help the local community in which they're in. And so we have a number of local contractors that's helping with our energy performance contract. And so I would encourage you to talk to the contractors about trying to work with some of the local contractors where possible, so they can be involved, because that money comes right back as a help benefit the school district.
Sure, and we've actually brought that up to performance services. A couple of things with solar. With solar, you have to have a certain certificate or license that is specific to solar. It's a weird process that you have to go to, because you have to have so many years of experience or months of experience or something of experience before you can actually get the license. And how do you get the license or the certificate if you don't have that experience? You know, we do a lot of open bidding. So one of our best bets is to, if we know people that are local, that are rated or that are certified in solar, is to reach out to them and let them know that we have a project coming up.
And not just the solar part. So for example, and I don't want to take a whole lot of time for this, but for example, the solar company may, you know, whatever solar company may be in Texas, right? They may come and say, okay, we can get some local flaggers or local security to watch the site, or, you know, something like that to help encourage. Because in some cases, you can't involve the local community because, like you said, a specialized license. But in some of those projects, truck driving and things like that, to deliver things, we can use local businesses.
Yeah, we'll bring that up again and we'll talk about.
And then I wouldn't mind talking with them to help, to clear up understanding. I just want to know if it's possible.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Moving on to new business, discussion of class size parameters.
Well, this is the time every year that we begin to look at our staffing for the following year. The board has, over the last few years, maintained the class size parameters for grades K to 2 at 25 and grades 3 to 8 at 30. While I would love to reduce those class sizes, I think at this time it'd be more prudent for us, if we do have any additional money, to look at the board priorities rather than looking at reduction of class size. We're doing a lot of work. Paul is doing a lot of work with the instructional coaches and with the teachers on looking at different ways to provide instruction. And I think that, you know, is more important right now than reducing class size, but obviously that's a board decision.
No, I think that makes sense. Certainly not something that we would just leap into changing without examining where else we can use the money. So, any other thoughts?
So if you move on to the next item, it's staffing. We've begun our initial look at the draft of our staffing, and it looks like now we may be ripping maybe 3 or 4 people on the basis of class size. But we meet tomorrow with Heather, I believe. Is it tomorrow, Heather, for staffing for special ed? And then we have individual meetings scheduled next week with each of the principals to see if there's anything that they're requesting. So right now, we don't have any, you know, we'll after we meet with the individual principals and meet with Heather, then I can come back and probably in the next board meeting with discussion and recommendation regarding any changes in staffing.
Okay. Alrighty. Review of the energy report for Meadowview.
This is one where we received a lot of information. We went back 5 years for Meadowview. We looked at therms, therm usage, pricing. We looked at weather, average weather temps for the months. There's some of the data doesn't necessarily look like it matches with what's in our Energy Star rated system. So we're going back and we're looking at, and we're pulling from the records room, individual invoices and trying to sift through all of those to make sure that we've got all of the information correct. I do have a spreadsheet, but we don't necessarily want to give it out at this time because we want to make sure the information is correct. So we'll ask to put this on the next board meeting and
That's
hopefully
fine.
have the correct information.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the discussion of the addition of a temporary EL assistant for Meadowview.
We've got Laura here and as well as Stephanie. Stephanie, can you sort of fill us in?
So if we think back a year ago from now, we actually ended up reducing one EL teacher from Meadowview last year based on projections. And the projections were based on 13 to 26 students, possibly with them, the percentage of students exiting third or fourth grade, moving on to third. And because of the access test changing to standard setting, we only had 13 students overall in the district exit instead of 50% of our third graders. So that left us with a higher number of EL students in Meadowview than we thought. Plus now a lot have moved in. So she currently has 36 students and 9 different languages represented. And the current EL teacher is actually doing a true co-teach model with a person secretary. And this assistant would be temporary for the remaining of the year. And it would help cover all the students that she's not actually seeing, an extra set of hands helping with the testing for access, things like that.
So it's temporary between, and it would be written as such between now and the end of the year. And then when we come back to you for staffing, we'll have some recommendations to address that.
Okay.
When will this be effective again?
Well, at the next board meeting, we would vote on it. But if we could at least post for it ahead of time.
First time I heard of a school job being changed mid-semester.
What do you mean?
Am I missing this?
Our numbers have gone up to a point of where we need to have another set of hands.
Yeah, okay.
It's an assistant.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a situation where that's, I mean, specific to English language learners, I would
Right.
think, where we have, as they move into the district over the course of the year, then those numbers go up and we need to cover those numbers, basically, so.
If we have no control over
Yeah.
who moves into our buildings.
Yeah.
We okay with having them posted?
You are
Yeah, I
posting
think
it?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll go ahead and post it tomorrow.
Okay. Next is the first look at the 18-19 calendar.
Well, the good news is that our calendar will be mirroring the districts around us as well as the high school. So it's not like it was this year where we had different calendars. We are maintaining the November conference schedule. We did a survey of our teachers, and they overwhelmingly supported that change. Spring break is usual, the last week in March. And the earliest possible day for school to be over is June 3rd. Any questions or?
I think so. Makes sense to me. It will be nice to match up with the high school again.
Yes.
I'm surprised that went as long as it did. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the day the dog and suds open, we don't put that in the school calendar, do we?
I could start.
Good.
It's like 6 weeks from now.
It's a local holiday, that's what it is. Yeah. Topics for future agenda items?
Well, we'll have the energy report for Meadowview, the action item for the EL assistant.
Right.
Transportation update?
Yes.
Do we want to have that committee discussion at the next meeting?
Okay, and with that committee discussion, it'll be the committees that we have and how we report out and,
Yeah, this structure and
okay,
reporting and yeah. Think about exactly, I guess, the
yeah, well,
points that we want to talk about, but yeah.
just so I have the data.
A fill-in again before when I wasn't here. Science Olympiad went to a meet on Saturday.
That's right, they did.
you get that? Okay, but,
No, we didn't talk about it, but
Okay.
you just reminded me.
24 schools there in great GMS place. So my kids worked trig problems on that test. How about they got them right?
Good. That's good.
Tom, you made copies of my goals today. Are
Yep.
you,
I called your house, but I didn't get in touch.
Oh.
There's, I think, eight sets.
and I guess you and Kathleen had sort of met to go over them, or?
Well, we were going to, but it didn't pan out.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, okay. That's good. Because we
I
could
got
schedule
this.
one for all three of you to meet.
So is the plan for us to,
You want to talk about these in closed session?
yeah, I mean, that's what we would do, but, yeah. Yeah, so we'll do that then. Anything else for agenda?
I wonder if we could maybe have a discussion about all-day kindergarten. The possibility of seeing if we're able to swing that into next year's start time. I know with the way the funding has changed from the state, you said before that it might be more possible now to do it than ever before, I guess.
Be really nice if they would stop pushing back.
Right, I get that.
But on the flip side, though, I'm positive. Well, I shouldn't say but I'm thinking that next year all-day kindergarten might be a potential.
Does the way the new formula work, if districts that don't currently have all-day kindergarten implement all-day kindergarten, they get more funding,
Yeah, that's
correct?
right, yeah.
So,
It would be, yeah.
It would be less of a hit to us financially to do it
Yes.
now than it would have been if we implemented it a year or two ago.
Mhm.
And it still depends on, obviously, student numbers. So if we have an addition of 150 because we go to full-day kindergarten and somehow, some way we lose 300 students just based off of enrollment, will we see a net positive? No, but at least we're still at that whole harmless level, which was the good level, because one of the big factors when we were talking about it before was the potential for a loss of GSA, is based on EAV, so.
okay.
And we have sent all the information to our person who's doing the projections.
Okay.
He's had a couple questions, so we'll have to look at that tomorrow, but, so they're working on it.
Okay, good.
When do we expect a report from that person?
As soon as all the data I get him, he sent some questions, so I got to get that back to him. I would think in the spring.
Okay. Anything else? I don't think we have any public comments, so if I could have a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to the sections of the Open Meetings Act listed in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Mesco,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
Northern.
Aye.